Hello, I'm Mike, and today I'm going to show you how to load and save data using JSON in the Godot engine. I'm using Godot version 4.2. It definitely works on Godot version 4. I'm not sure about 3.5 and any other version that isn't a Godot 4 version. So, first things first, this is a basic project that I've got set up. In this scene, this is our testing scene, we have a couple of elements. So we have a text label, we have a save button, and we have a change button. And the idea behind this scene is that when we load the JSON, we're going to change the text at runtime to something that's within the JSON file. This will prove that we are able to load the JSON file and get data out of it. Then we're going to click the change button, which is going to do a back-end change to the JSON file. And then we're going to save the JSON file, And then when we restart the game, we're going to see what we changed the JSON to here on this label. So basically we're proving that we can save, load, and change the JSON file. So let's get started. First things first, if you want JSON and to load and parse JSON files in, you will need a JSON file. Here is just a basic one that I've made and put together. It's full of garbage data. Let's do this as default. So now that we've got our JSON file, let's start off by making a singleton. We're going to use a singleton to do the JSON parsing, loading and saving because it's accessible from anywhere in our project at runtime, meaning that you don't need to keep adding a script or a game object or a scene into any of your scenes in order for this to work. It'll work seamlessly across your scenes. So let's create a new script and call it JSON data.gd, and so let's open that up. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to want to hook up this singleton and tell the Godot engine that we want this to be run at runtime. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the top left here and click project settings. And then we're going to go across to the auto load tab, and then this is where all your singletons which you have told Godot to auto load at runtime are. So click the wee file folder thing and select the GD script for your singleton, and then remember this node name as it's what we're going to be using to reference the JSON data later, or this singleton later, and just click on the add and ensure that the enable is ticked here. It needs to be enabled for this to work. So let's just go ahead and close. So now we get to the fun part, which is the programming. So what we're going to do is we're just going to remove the process function, and we're going to add two variables. The first variable is a variable which is going to hold our JSON data. So let's just call it JSON data, and it's going to be a dictionary, and we're going to indicate that it's a dictionary by you doing the equals and then doing these curly brackets, and that tells the Godot engine that it's a dictionary. And then the second variable that we need is the JSON file path. So let's just put this in, and that's going to be a string. So we're going to just get the file path. You can get it by right clicking, copy path, and pasting it in. So now we can actually do the function to create the JSON, and we're going to create a new function below the ready function, and we're going to call it load underscore JSON data. Sorry, I'm trying to type slowly here today because my keyboard's pretty loud. And I know that can be annoying. So into this load JSON data function, we're actually going to pass through a variable which is going to be file path, and that is going to be a string. So first things first, we're going to want to check that the file that we are trying to load in to our game actually exists. So we're going to do this with an if statement. So we're going to access file access dot file exists, and then we're going to pass through to that the file path. So this is going to return true if the file exists, and then we're going to go on to opening and reading the file. So we're going to create a variable called data file, and we're going to assign this as file access dot open to open the file. And you can see here we need two things. We need the path, and then we need the file access dot a mode flag just to tell it what we're actually doing. And so as you know, we've got the file path for the path, and the mode that we're going to use is file access dot read. So we're telling it that we want to read the file. Then we're going to create another variable. We're going to call this parsed result. And then what we're going to do is we're basically going to just parse the JSON, because right now we've got the data file here is JSON data, but we want it to be in a usable format, so we need to parse the JSON. So we're going to do this by doing JSON dot parse string, and we're going to get the data file variable which we created above, and dot get as text. So that's basically it, and now we have basically done the loading part, but as you see we have parse result and we need to return parse result. So let's actually just re-indent this. So let's just check that parse result is a dictionary, so we know that our result that we're getting back, the JSON file that we parsed, is valid. So we'll do if parse result is dictionary, and if that's true we'll just return the parsed result, and if it's false we will raise an error. Your error can say whatever you want it, but I'm just going to go error and then the exclamation mark, why not? So now that we've done that, we have our loading function. We actually need to get the data inside this JSON data variable. So what we're going to do is we're going to do JSON data, let's get out the dot as well. So JSON data equals load JSON data, and we're going to pass through the JSON file path as well. So excellent. Now we are loading our JSON data. So let's just check using the test scene that this actually works. So on the ready function here, we're going to get our label.text. I've got a reference, on ready reference to the label which I showed you earlier, and right now the label is displaying this is blank. So we will be clearly able to see any changes. So label.text equals JSON data dot JSON data. Lovely naming scheme there. And so now we are referencing what the container that the dictionary. So how do we get to the specific part of the JSON that we want? So let's say we want JSON example and then this B second example text. What we're going to do is we're going to need to reference JSON example, and then we're going to need to reference B. So it is literally an address. So it's your first line and then second line of the address kind of thing. If you imagine it like that, it's going down to get the specific locale of it. So using the square brackets, and it's a string, we do JSON example, and then we would, didn't mean that, and then we would do B. So let's save this, and then let's run it and make sure. So now you can see the text is changed to second example, and these buttons still do nothing. But say we wanted to reference second thing, how would we do that? Do you think? You can pause the video and drop it in the comments section below if you really want. I wouldn't advise it because I'm about to tell you and you may as well not waste your time. But what you would do is you just take second thing. Oops, wrong class or wrong GD script. And you do this, and then you could do 2. And let's just see that does. See, now the text has changed, and we're getting the text directly from the JSON file. Well, not directly from the JSON file, but from the JSON file via a dictionary that we've got in the engine. So now we can read. Let's do a write. So the way that we can do a write is literally just by the same way of referencing. So JSON data like that, and then we would do something like this. 3. Imagine I set it as 3. I'm chaotic. I'm a rebel. So let's just save that. So what you're going to notice if we do this is that even though we're changing this variable, it's not getting saved, so it's only getting changed at runtime. So we need to have a function to be able to save the data. So let's go back to our singleton JSON-data.gd, and we're going to create a new function. We're actually going to create 2 new functions. It's Merry Christmas. And we're going to call the first one _save specific JSON, right? Because we're wanting one function, which is if you have the file. So this first function, if you've got the JSON data and you've got the JSON file path, you can save that specific JSON by passing this through, those 2 details through to it. And then we're going to have a function which just saves everything, which is a more of a generalized thing. So we're going to need 2 variables for this. We're going to need obviously the file path location. Let's call it file location, and that's going to be a string. And we're also going to need the JSON dictionary, which is a JSON string, so let's just call it JSON string for now, and that's going to be a dictionary. Okay, so first off, we're going to want to get a variable for the file which we are going to write to. So let's get a variable called write file, and then we're going to open the file so we can write to it. So even though we've got the same file opened up here, we are only doing a file access.read, so we need to do the same thing but do a file access.write. So we'll go open, and then we're going to do file location, and then we're going to pass through file access.write this time. Why is it? Why are you doing this, Godot? File access.write. There you go, good boy. Okay, so now we've got the file which we can write to, and now we're going to format the JSON and change it back into JSON. So right now we've got it as a dictionary and we want it to be back as a JSON. So we're going to do a thing called JSON.stringify, which is just formatting it back into JSON format. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a JSON stringified, and then we're going to do JSON.stringify, and in this function we're just going to pass through our JSON string, and then along with this we're going to, because right now if I just leave it like that, it's all going to be on one line. which is going to look terrible. It's not going to be readable. It's not going to be in the format of this. It's going to literally just be on one really long line. So we want to tell it to do indentations and format it. So we're going to do a \t here to tell it exactly to do that. So now that we've done that, we're going to want to do a write file dot store string in order to store the string, and the string that we're going to store is the JSON that we've which we have stringified back into the JSON format. And then all we're going to do now is we're going to close the file. Close. And that's it. So easy. And the second function that we're going to have is the save all function. So let's just do save underscore all, which is basically just a hack by me, which just makes it easy to call for everyone or anywhere. As I say, you don't need to have the specific file location or the specific JSON string to call it here in this function. You just need to call the save all and it will do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this function in the file location. So that would be JSON file path, and then the JSON string would be JSON data. So there you go. And in order to add any more JSON files, you would just do another 2 variables here. So like JSON, why do I keep spelling it like the name? JSON data 2, and then or JSON data to file path. I'm terrible at typing. But then what you would do is you would just add the 2 more variables, just like here. This one would be a dictionary. This one would be the file path, which would look similar to this. And then you just call this function in the same way, where JSON data 2 would equal to load JSON data and then Parse JSON data 2 file path. And you can do as many as you want, like this. So now that we've got everything set up, let's do some testing. So we're going to go to our test scene, and we're going to make sure that we can make the second thing equal 3 by creating the save button. So we're going to reference the JSON data, and then we're just going to do save all, call the save all function. So let's load up the game. It says 2. Let's change the data, save the data, close it, and then this reload would be done by Windows automatically. It's just because I have the files within the engine that it's asking me to do this. So let's just do the reload, and then let's rerun our game. And as you can see, it now says 3. And you know, anything in this JSON could be changed to anything, and you can actually see the change that I've made displayed here in the JSON file as well. So thank you very much for watching. I hope that was informative and you got the answers that you wanted. Please like and subscribe, and let me know if you have any problems in the comments section. Thank you very much.